Yaakov Avinu fell asleep on the Makom HaKadosh, the Temple Mount. He had a dream, and he went to the top of the ladder, and there was Hashem standing upon it, which means Keta, which means Devekis. He achieved the highest state, and there was Hashem, the top of his consciousness. The Sulam has four levels, which we know, which is the Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and then there's Yechida, standing above it. So when he wakes up, he says this line, Achein yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati. Wow, there's Hashem. Hashem is in this place. Yesh Hashem, the Yeshus of Hashem is in this place, and I did not know. So it's a very interesting idea, starting a little deep and then becoming a bit more practical. You know, there's always an old discussion that if you work in Kiev, people that don't know anything about Torah and mitzvahs, if you said, what's the holiest place in the world for Jews? If you actually read the Torah, if you went to Tanakh, what's the holiest place in the world for Jews? You know, like of Islamic friends, cousins, you know, they don't just have one holy place. There's many, many places. They're after the Temple Mount, but they should be, shouldn't be, according to themselves. It's a holy place for them, right? But there's a whole long list of holy places for them. There's apparently number 3 on the list, so I've heard. They start with Mecca, there's somewhere else, and there's here as well. So, we really have one holy place. I mean, we have Uman, maybe 2, 1.5. That's also good. But it's mamish interesting that there's really one place, which is the Temple Mount. But if you read the Chumash, what would you think is the holiest place in the world? What's the holiest thing that ever happened in history?
Mount Sinai.
Mount Sinai. So it's a very, very interesting question. Why? Not only do we only have the Kotel, like that's it, right? Besides Tzaddikim, the Kotel, and not only do we not go to Sinai, Sinai is not even on the map. Nobody even cares about it. No one brings it up. I mean, there are people that hold that this is a certain mountain. They know where it is. Apparently, Esau, where there is or isn't. But there's lots of places like the certain Tzaddikim they didn't know. Like go back 100 years in Uman, they had to go into Russia and break it down and find the Makam. Right? Sinai is the greatest revelation that happened in human history. Not to one person, not to 1,000 people, to 3.5 million. Nothing. We don't even care to look in it. Today, every little site, after Uman blew up, every little site, everyone now has to go they try to put a tent there by the Kibbutz, they try to make a whole yahrzeit shtick, but nothing's going to touch what Rabbeinu does. But it's fascinating that nobody cares at all. So what's the mila of the Beis HaMikdash that we are drawn to that, and that we don't even care is Yidden about mamish the place where the biggest revelation of Hashem ever happened? How do you explain it? What's Pshat? So Pshat is something called Isurusa Dilatata and Isurusa Dilaela. That we know that a Yid has, if everyone's on a tshuva process, you know that we have matanas, we have gifts. We go through our lives in a very pashut way. We're enjoying the game, we're making some money, we're pursuing our desires, and then Shem has Rahmanas on us. Something happens, we have an unbelievable Shabbos, some people have an unbelievable high in a holy way, some people get dragged by their payas, without the payas, to Uman, and you know, they have that breakthrough, that awakening, right? And then it's unbelievable, and suddenly you see the light, you see the truth, and you never imagined, especially Sfari Neshama, they're already pretty high, so the light goes in faster, they go like, oh my gosh, my Besorah, it lights them up. And then what happens is we crash. You know, we have that moment when we're davening, ever clear, I'm going to come back to my Besorah, come back to my heritage 100%. And then what happens is we get over ourselves, we go back to life, Baruch Hashem, we forget about the Jewish stuff, whatever. So the answer is the first gift is given, the Moichin, the Gadlus Rishon, the revelation, it's called the Isurusa Dilaela. Hashem awakens us from below. And ultimately, it matters not at all. Because that moment of revelation, that moment of connections, it says everything about how great Hashem is, but nothing about how great you are. And the game that we're playing is ultimately stemming about how great you are. Hashem already knows He's great. He knew He was great before He created the world. But the purpose of the world is to reveal how great you are. So, the power. What's that?
I'm trying to get back the light.
But when you get back, is the light is the issue, right? So Hashem gives the light, He gives the revelation, He gives like the taste test. So it's just like the sniffer dogs at the airport. They put the drugs. This is what the drug tastes like. Now go find it.
Shavuot, the over in Shavuot.
Yeah, exactly right. So Pesach is Chesed, the revelation, and then we do the hard work to make the Kinyan, and then Shavuot is called Midas Adin. That's what the Zohar says. It's Bechinas of Yitzhak, because it's what we acquired ourselves, what we earned ourselves. So Pshat, in a very interesting way, is that the Beis HaMikdash is the Makom Kodesh for the Jewish people, because it's actually word Lashon Bet, house, Kli, HaMikdash. Mikdash is Hashem, Kodesh Baruch Hu. So here we made a house, here we made a vessel, here we made an acquisition, here we struggled, here we had to build something from the ground up, right? That's what it says, the Beis Hamikdash Shlishi, the third temple will come from the sky down. Why? Because through the Golus we already made the vessel, we already built it, we already did the struggle, we made the acquisition. It hurt, it was hard, we overcame our blocks, it was unbelievably challenging. So Hashem says, now that you built the Beit, now I'll give you the Mikdash, now I'll give you the revelation. So the reason why that Sinai is technically irrelevant is Hashem just drops out of the sky, and then the UFO comes down like Closing Guys of the Third Kind, and we go ooh and ah, and the special effects, and then he says bye. Right. But the purpose of this world is the Beis Hamikdash. The purpose of this world is not Sinai. The purpose of the world is now you've got the vision, now you've got the inspiration, now you've got the clarity, now you've got the insight, now you can see how it all comes together, now you have the vision. Hashem says, now you build it, you acquire it, you struggle. Right? And that's the hard work of being a Yid in this world. Right? We're reconstructing Sinai at the Beit HaMikdash through sacrifice. Korbanos, sacrifice, to be makarav, to draw myself close to Hashem. That's the hard work. That's building the house, building the vessel, so the Hashem, the Hasharas Shechina, Hashem can come and dwell in us.
Well, Rabbi, how does it's Rabbi Nachman's all over the running and returning, the Bokeh B'Rasa, Bokeh B'Shav,
right?
And the Ashkenazi world and the nuns said they had nothing to do. They had nothing about this running and returning.
Baruch Hashem, that's why we're here.
That's the thing. That's what.
I mean, they have it, but they're not into the rhythm of life. They're into we just learn. I mean, I'm not here to attack. We don't need to attack.
You'll lose the customer in a minute.
You lose the customer. All the customer numbs themselves into just it doesn't matter because they're not seeking connection. They're seeking information.
Yeah.
Right. So then it's a bit of a dull process. You lose the customers, and often the customers are the kinderlach, the children, the next generation.
Yeah.
Because
part of it, you do that. Excuse me. You see part of it, you do that. You see a part of that running and chasing.
Right.
Their Kodesh Baruch Hu.
In the Chassidus?
Yeah, you see that fish. There's something about.
No, but nobody talks about the tzimtzum, the contraction.
Yeah, you're saying right.
The Chabad talks about it.
Chabad says Chassidus.
I mean Chassidus. Already we moved to
talking
Chassidus.
about when you don't have Chassidus. A guy starts learning yeshiva, his trauma in his life. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
lost the customer.
When I was in yeshiva, it was like every day it was just learning Gemara. Baruch Hashem, learn Gemara. Baruch Hashem, I built myself. Obviously, we're not connected at all. That's ridiculous. But I found myself flying and crashing and flying and crashing. And there was nothing to say about that. So it's just like, well, I'm broken. I'm an idiot. I'm messed up, and everyone else apparently can do it. Because when you're a rabbi, you listen to everyone's story, and everyone else is flying and crashing. And then the first time I opened up Mishiv Nefesh, I was just like, oh.
Right.
Oh, he's talking to me. Oh, I know that. Oh, that's what's happening. So there's an inner world.
Meaning.
What's that?
Gave you meaning.
Give me context.
Right.
Oh, he understands me. Torah actually explaining my reality rather than here's some information on the page. I have to learn. I have to remember. I have to give sack, which is wonderful information. So that's the mila of it. It's explaining my inner reality, which of course makes me feel validated, makes me feel understood, gives me context, and charts a map, a GPS for now I get how I have to ride that wave. So Chassidus is always about there's an inner world taking place, and let's also be sensitive to the inner world. And all real growth is only about sensitive to the inner world. That's why, unfortunately, a person can know color to a cooler and still be a wreck in the inside because they have no awareness of the inner world. That's why those people can read the Torah but not know how to connect to people, which is usually why, because they don't know how to connect to themselves. That they have no inner awareness of what's going on. So the more a person has an awareness, the more you have awareness of something else. And according to Kabbalah and Chassidus, the more you have inner awareness, the more you understand the inner awareness of the inner worlds in general, because you realize your up and downs are modeling the up and downs of the Chayes Ratzah, the angels are running and turning. Hashem's energy is oscillating constantly. So all of Chassidus is based on the premise that the only way to get up is to go in.
Because if you look at even most psychologists, it's a Freud model, stuck in the past.
Right.
And Chassidut, it's all about you need the down to go up.
Right.
You need the down to go up.
It's a dynamic system.
Part of life.
It's a dynamic system, and everything's interesting. That's why I've learned and had the zchut to work with people who are addicted to drugs or whatever, and they know life in a real way that other people don't.
Sure.
I mean, they've hit rock bottom, they've bounced back up, and they used to say, so they become a Beit HaMikdash, they become a vessel to revelation. So listen to this. The Zohar Chai, who's the Komarno, there's a beautiful Torah on this idea. Again, depending on time, I want to talk about this in Rabbeinu on this week's parsha. Well, you tell me when to stop. After 2.5 hours, you can leave a sign or something. So he says, it's a very beautiful thing. He says, when Hashem created the Bria, what this means, we have to be sensitive. This is a little deeper. We have to be sensitive to what this means, if we can say such things. Hashem created the Bria, and the Bria did not want to be created. So Hashem created the worlds, and everything in the world, from Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah, assume whoever knows these words, all the structures of reality, all the angels, all the neshamas, he said Hashem generated it, and what would happen is it would go out into being, and the whole thing would collapse back into Hashem. Because what does everything in the world want? It wants to be connected to its source. Human beings are the only beings stupid enough or divided enough that would actually take an action that took us away from Hashem. But everything in the world, B'teva, by nature, wants to return. So Hashem created the world, right? And Hashem, why did Hashem create the world? Because he wants revelation, a dira b'tachtonim. And all of the world would exist, that would kind of like, blossom out from him, like the Big Bang and the singularity all come out. And then it's very, very deep. Today, one of the scientific theories of reality is that the universe itself oscillates. It comes from a singularity, expands out over billions of years, and then it all actually returns. There's a Big Bang and a big Simsum. That's how right, it's interesting. So even science has this model. So the Baal Shem Tov Torah, the Komarno quotes the Baal Shem Tov, it's a very beautiful, fascinating idea, that the nature of the world, that Hashem created the world, what's the word? Yesh ma'ayin. Listen to these words. Something from nothing. I bet that Lashon, Yesh. Yesh means something from nothing, a tangible dira b'tachton, a tangible expression and revelation of Hashem, and then an inner returning to our implicit relationship with Hashem. So every time Hashem created the world, Yesh ma'ayin, the world would go out, and then it collapsed back into itself, because the world did not want to be separate from Hashem. Everything wants to return to their source. That's the panemius of the Chayes Ratzah. It would go out, but it would return. The problem was there was no kiyum. There was nothing with the world existing. Until Hashem created the Jew. And the Jew kept Torah and mitzvahs. And what a strong competition you have in this time.
This is a daily thing.
Right. You see that the world wants to pull us back in.
Yeah.
And we have to pull ourselves, we have to massage ourselves. Remember your work, remember your job, remember your emails, they're flooding in right now.
The train.
Right, that's quite the train, wow. See, life's a big train, it just chugs along.
There's a shofar.
You guys hear the train?
Oh yeah.
You guys hear it all
the
the
shir?
time?
Every day.
You hear the train. I try to stop.
You should connect some tzedakah.
It's funny, when I get the momentum is when the train comes.
That's so good.
When I get into the flow.
So I like the show before, that's the kavanah, the whole nine. You should teach him how to blow. Maybe he'll do it when he passes the Breslov Center. That's an insanely long train. It's actually coast to coast. It's just one train. So B'kitzur L'maaseh, it's a very beautiful Torah. When Hashem created the Yid, and the Yid started doing Torah and mitzvahs, what's the word mitzvah? A mitzvah we know means savsa, which means a connection. It's a point of connection. A point of connection means revelation. It's very interesting that the word of the world translates mitzvah as commandment. And in Chassidus, we translate it as connection, savsa. So it's very interesting. What's the difference between a commandment and a connection? A commandment is something external to you. Do this. Why should you do it? Because I'm telling you. So Torah in 2018, the majority of the world, most people aren't interested in Torah, I think, because we did it to ourselves. Do this, say this, put on this, right? There's no awareness of the inner value, right? So people translate it as commandments because it implies it's something which is not you, which I as a rabbi am commanding you do. And if you don't listen to me and do it, then God doesn't love you. And if you listen to me and do it, it's external. But savsa means it's implicitly connected. It's inherently connected to who you are. It's inherently beautiful. When you do things that are connected to you, you got tana, you get pleasure. You get motivated because you see this is helping me, it's building me, it's what I want. It's connected to my shurish, my essence, my soul, my purpose. And when you want to do something because of you, then it's incredibly motivating and beautiful, and you get pleasure. The ultimate motivation force in life is pleasure. The reason you do drugs is it gives you pleasure. The only way to get off drugs is you have to find something that gives you greater pleasure. And the first thing that gives you greater pleasure is ownership, that I can overcome my challenge, I can overcome pain. That actually causes pleasure. So when you see that Torah and mitzvahs gives you pleasure, that's unbelievable. Now, This is what the Sfarim say. When Hashem created the world, is this interesting to people?
Yes, absolutely.
When Hashem created the world collapsed in itself because everything in the world wanted to connect to Hashem. So the world only had, I can be connected to Hashem or I can be separate from Hashem. When Hashem created the Jew, and the Jew kept Torah and mitzvahs are done in the physical world, with the straps, with the leather, with the cow, right? We always use physical, tzitzis, wool, whatever we're doing. Then the world suddenly said, oh, Hashem can be revealed even in physicality. So the world no longer needed to collapse. That's why Chazal said the first 2,000 years of the world of Chesed, because Hashem kept the world going, not because it earned it itself, right? But because Hashem needed the world to go. But the second 2,000 years, we have Avraham Avinu, now we have Torah. And Torah is, this is a beautiful Torah. The Torah is a way to have connection even in the physical world. And then the cow wanted to exist. The leather wanted to exist. The wool wanted to exist. The Malachim wanted to exist because the Malachim actually want to connect to Hashem, but Malachim want to reveal Hashem in the physical world. So who has the power to give the world existence? Yisrael. That's us. Yisrael was the power that Hashem should be revealed and the world would exist, because without us there's no reason for the world to exist. The purpose of existence is Hashem should be revealed in the physical world. And Yisrael has the power to reveal Hashem in the physical world. That's connected to this week's Parsha. Now, with that in mind, listen very carefully to this beautiful understanding of the line. On the Temple Mount, what's the Temple Mount? The place where we create a vessel for Hashem in the physical world. We give revelation, we give yeshus to Hashem in the physical world. Who does that? Klal Yisrael. It's called the Beis HaBechira. Right? What does it mean, the Beis HaBechira? What's that? It's the house of where we chose it. Not what was given to us at Sinai. This is where we worked hard. This is where we acquired it, and the world has existence. And we know Bechira is the flip around the letters Bechira. It means chibur, connection, right? This is the place where I struggled for connection, and this is the place I acquired connection. And what happens when we destroy the temple?
So the Torah, when we accepted the Torah from love.
That's right, ma'ava.
Kibbul
Torah, ma'ava.
Yeah.
So what happens when we don't? When we don't accept the Torah, the kibbur, right, the kisha, when we make the bad decision, the bad free will decision, we disconnect ourselves from Hashem. Right. And the disconnection means destruction. That's why the letters bechira means to choose, and the you can either choose the same letters mean connection, or the flip over the letters that means chorban, destruction. Every free will, every moment, you either choose to, you make the right decision, you connect deeper, or you disconnect. Right. Chorban always means to disconnect from source. That's why the destruction of the temple means we disconnected the world from its source. So listen very carefully to this beautiful reading. Yaakov wakes up, he has the revelation, he sees the storm, he sees everything is connected to Hashem. He says, this place, this Makom HaMikdash, the space to make this house, is Yisrael. This is Yisrael. This is the place. What is Yisrael? The same Osi says, Yashar Keil. I can see that everything is connected to its source. And the capacity to see in the darkest place in the physical world, everything is connected to its source. That's the perception, that's the attitude. That suddenly allows you to transform yourself and live in that connection, live in that state, live in that blessing. So listen very carefully. V'yoma, what does he say? Achein yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. What's the yesh? We have, through making an acquisition, through building a house, through mesivus nefesh, through bringing a korban, we can bring the yesh of Hashem, we can bring the revelation of Hashem into this world. This world will exist now, because the world wants to exist because it can reveal Hashem. Yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. Now this is a very deep word. You see, because in Chassidus, we're always struggling with yesh and bittul. We know these words? Sure. Yesh usually translates as ego. And bittul is nullification of evil. It's not just humility. Humility is an attitude, but it's an essential state. That all my fear, all my doubt, all my lust, all my ego is surrendered over to Hashem, and I'm a channel, I'm a cover for something higher. Listen very carefully to this. But it's interesting that the highest state in Chassidus and the highest state in Tanakh is not actually bittul, it's actually yesh. Yesh Hashem. You see, Hashem has gaiva. We talk about Hashem's gaiva. What's the essence of a gaiva? That I'm the center of reality. That's the essence of gaiva. Are you looking about me? You're talking about me? You're thinking about me? Are you honoring me? Because I'm the center of reality. What does it mean? Hashem has gaiva or chesed? We're calling God a bal gaiva, an arrogant, ego focus. The answer is that's true gaiva. Hashem is the center of reality, right? So the problem with arrogance, the problem with ego is it's saying I. What does Rav Nachman say? He says we're stealing the kavod of Hashem. I want you to notice me, and if you're noticing me, you're not noticing Hashem. What does it mean, sneas? Sneas ultimately says don't look at me, look at my source. That's what sneas is. Don't look at my body, look at my source. I gave this big donation. Don't look at the source of donation, because all the blessing I had didn't come from me. It came out. Don't look at me. That's why Hashem says, don't take the kavod of Hashem. What's kavod? Kavod means respect. I always say, beautiful understanding of kavod is gravity. It's gravity. The bigger the stellar object, the more the gravitational pull. So some people want a lot of kavod. So I want to stand for me, sit for me, honor me, kiss my hand, whatever that is. Look how important I am. Look at my car, look at my house. Be pulled towards me, drawn towards me. To give a kavod to a Talmid Chacham. If the Talmid Chacham walks in the room, you stand up. Why? Because you should feel like it's not like it physically draws your body, right? But ultimate kavod, as Nachman and Rebbeinu say, is it belongs to Hashem. Hashem, that motivational pull. You should be a gravitational pull, right? So that's called Yeshus Hashem. That's the Gaiva of Hashem. The world does. The problem is not Gaiva. There's no issue with Gaiva. The issue is where should the Gaiva go? What is this? What does create a gravitational pull for us? That's Hashem. That's our source. You understand? So listen to this. So he says, Yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. This is a good Chassidish word, the essence of Chassidus. We've got nothing against Yeshus. But the essential substance, the essential things that matter in the world is Hashem. And when we have that attitude, then the world can exist. Because the world has a purpose. And we are building that world. And who can do that? Israel. The gift of the Jewish people is we can allow the world to exist because we make the world Yesh Hashem. We create a place where Hashem is revealed, that creates that tzavsa, that creates that connection. And when we do that, that allows revelation to exist in every moment in our consciousness of Hashem. Amazing, amazing gematria. The Komarno Rebbe says, Yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh is gematria Israel.
Oh, wow.
Yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. Yisrael is Yashakel. Everything is Hashem. When you see that everything is Hashem, not just see it, it's not like a word, guys in suffering. Does it all come from Hashem? Yeah, it all comes from Hashem. You're not seeing it. You're not seeing it. They meet all of just Baruch Hashem, everything's from Hashem, and then they're miserable and they cry and they're depressed. What's that?
What would you
Because first of all, the kesher, that's the Jewish people. When a Jewish person keeps mitzvahs, the essence of mitzvahs, you're doing the rights of Hashem. That means that it's purpose. Everybody's happy when they're serving their purpose. Everyone's depressed when they don't know their purpose, they're not serving it, right? So more than that, and what's the essence of serving our purpose in the dark world? This is what I want to get to this week's parsha. Is the essence of serving Hashem in our physical world is to see that Hashem is in every detail. When every cowhide, when every black, when every burger, and every dollar that you make, you see a divinity in it, then it's revealing spirituality, and it wants to exist, it wants to keep going. That's the purpose of the Jewish people. And the words Yisrael is Yashakel, and even Yaakov. What's Yaakov? It's a Yud and the Ekev. Ekev means the heel. The heel is the lowest level, the most sensitive place. The Yud is Chachma, it's the Vekas. The Chachma, the Seichel, Shebechol Devar. Devar is Malchus, the Chachma in the Kol Devar, right? And that's that. So we can see Elokus in the kale and the spinach and the moringa. What the heck is moringa? What's that? We see it, and then the world, and then the Jew says, "Wow, I'm revealing Hashem. I want to exist here." Right? So everything that has its shlemus, everything has its purpose. I'm witnessing Hashem. Are you following me so far? So I want to show you something very, very quick.
It's funny because he says we have to make Yaakov into Yisrael. Nachman says we
Right.
have to make Yaakov into Yisrael.
Right.
By having expanding our dad.
So that's what I want to talk about. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So Yaakov Yisrael. Yaakov means that I see an Akev, but I'm working to get the Yud into it. Yisrael means I don't even see the Akev. Everything's just Hashem. So as a Baal Tshuva, the first level, the first stage is Yaakov.
Very good.
Very good. Torah is very good, isn't it? Oh, I'm Geschmack, Doniel Katz is Geschmack. Go to cover. They'll trace it back to the source, Yashakel, right? So I'm an Ekev, I'm here like nothing. And you saw Yud through me. But now that the Yashakel is, look how Geschmack Torah, look how Geschmack Chassidus is. Now I just want to show you this week's parsha. So we know the first of Rabbeinu, that Esau is the Yetzirah. Esau is the perception that everything is gashmius, everything is physicality. And Yaakov is now, that's what we want, Yashakel. We want to go to the Chachma, the Seichel, Shebechol Devar. So it's very, very interesting. When Yaakov, there's so many Torahs here, we're nearly finished. I just want to share this little orders extension of what we said. this unbelievable nisayon, this unbelievable challenge that Yaakov faces this week, and this deep Torah's why he had to face it, why he had to go to Chutz La'aretz to prepare, and we have to go into Galus, we have to go the 6 days of the working week, and we have to come back to Shabbos, come back to Eretz Yisrael. And it's very interesting because Yitzhak never had to go to Chutz La'aretz, he never had to work for 6 days a week. He never had to go to Galus because it's very, very interesting. Don't want to get into the whole Torah, but the essence is that the purpose of the relationship between Yaakov and Esau was a very, very holy intent, and it didn't go according to plan. It was supposed to be that Yaakov sits in tents and learns. He's the holy guy. And Esau is the Rasha. Why? Because he's an ish sadeh. What's the definition of a field? The Baal HaTanya says it's a place that's undeveloped, unrefined. Right? And a city is an ear. An ear means a city. It also means a malach, a spiritual state. Is a place where we channel and harness the physical world and use it on a high level. It doesn't mean Miami City or New York City. They're not really harnessed for holiness, right? But a person can develop in a city, or a person goes camping. Today they call it glamping because we're too afraid to actually confront the wild. We're afraid to confront our own fear, our own heart, our own doubts, right? So it's very, very interesting, and I have to pretend that everything's nice and cozy, and until I'm fine, I'm holy, but I don't want to confront the darkness, but only when you confront the darkness, then you can really bring in some light. That's why the holy that you work with, the goyim, whoever you're working with, that's why they know darkness, and therefore they can know light in a real way. But I just want to tell you this beautiful Torah. So there was a challenge that what happened with Esav is that he wasn't by definition evil. He was just obsessed with physicality. Why was he obsessed with physicality? I'll tell you an unbelievable word that's in Pnimis of Torah. And I have like hours and hours of class on this, so I just want to say in a second, it's so profound. He was obsessed with physicality because that was his gift. Because just like the relationship between Yisachar and Zevulun, right? That Yaakov was supposed to be the Kohen, and Esav was supposed to be the Melech. He was supposed to be in charge of the physical world, in charge of the money, in charge of the organization. That was supposed to be a team effort. Isn't that fascinating? And this is why you can ask the question about, was Yitzhak out of his mind to give a bracha, to give a holy bracha to his son who was a Rasha? Yitzhak must be stupid. He was blind, he couldn't see. I mean, that's what we tell 5-year-olds, okay? We have to understand the panemius of it. So there's a whole long Torah on this, but very, very briefly, it's so profound. Yitzhak knew who Yaakov was. Yitzhak knew who Esav was. Esav is Lashon Asiyah, physicality. Asur, do. He was a doer. So who's holy? The person that learns Torah, or the person that's doer? If the doer is doing in the world to bring Torah into the world, so they are equally as holy. Right? That's the Bechorah. What does it mean that this is the Pnimis of the first Torah? Rabbeinu. What does it mean he got the Bechorah? What does it mean to get the Bechorah? The Bechorah gets double. What does it mean, double? It means you get the spiritual world and you get the physical world. It's holy. So listen very carefully. It's very, very deep. It was supposed to be that Yaakov learned Torah all day and Esav mastered the physical world, and they could live together in harmony. And but Yitzhak saw that Esau was struggling with this, so he gave him a mission. What was the mission? Go and hunt food and bring it back to me. What tzaddik? Imagine you went to a tzaddik, Shalom Arush is here, and you ask for bracha. He says, "You have anything yummy? You have any candy I can eat? Go get me a cheeseburger. I'll give you a blessing." Like what tzaddik would say such a? You have $10? Give me $10. I mean, we do it in a deep way. It's like, give me cash, give me money, give me, take me to the game, and I'll give you a bracha. Can if you have any brains, you'd stay away from such a person, right? What's that? How did he elevate him? He says, do it li. He says, go and hunt, but do it kibud av. Beautiful. And what does that mean? Go and be an ishara. You know how to kill, you know how to harness energy, you can confront reality. What does the Gemara say? You're born under Adam, you have a desire for blood. Fine, you can kill people, but you could also be a shochet, you could also be unloyal. There's nothing wrong with being an ishara. There's nothing wrong with desiring things in the world, but use it in an elevated way. And he said, if you can do that, then you can be a king. Then you can rule the physical world.
But he was trying to attack him on it.
That's what he was trying to attack him. He's saying, that's right. I know you're obsessed with physicality. It's the most Hasidic word in the world. I know you like to make money. Use your money for holiness. Not leave money behind. Half a day in the mikvah, half a day learning Gemara.
But he didn't want.
Who didn't want?
Esau
Bingo!
Did. No, but I heard he didn't want. I just learned that Esau cried. It says several times. He cried a big cry Because when he came back, he was finally ready to take on.
Yeah, so it's not that he wanted. When did he realize what he wanted? When he lost it. We all realized that.
Okay. But it was a big cry because that's it.
So what does that show us? That shows that there was something within him that got it. That's the most painful thing in the world. It's when the person can find they lose it, and then they lose it, and then they go.
And that's it. He realized at that point.
So you know that Nakuda. That's what I think the Yitzhak was drawing out. Was that?
The singles world.
Yeah, that's awful. It's so painful. So listen to this. So this is I don't want to go into this. It's such a beautiful Torah. That's why at that moment that Yaakov went to Breslov.
For what?
What's Breslov? That's the 6 days of the week. What's Eretz Israel? That's Shabbos. Yaakov now had to move out of learning Torah.
He took his
He took his wife. What's wife? Malchus. He had to marry the Malchus of himself, which is the holiness, which is Leah, and he had to marry the Malchus of Esau. Why was Leah called Leah? They heard she was crying all the time. Why was she crying? Because she was supposed to marry Esau. Mm-hmm. So he had to take both wives, both revelations. He had to learn Torah and he had to work. So he had to go into Chitzonius, into the most darkest place of the world, and learn cunning. He's in Ish Tam. He has to be cunning and manipulative because he has to learn how to work. He has to learn how to struggle. But that's the hardest thing in the world. Many Yidden are very holy when they're in the Beis Mikdash. They're very holy when they're toiling. At least when they're underwater, when they come out, they have thoughts, but they go back in, they're holy. But to be able to go back out to the world, So now he mastered both worlds. He had to be a master of work. I said, well, and Yisrael, what does that mean? So, Yaakov, now he has to take the Yud back into Eikav. Now he has to go out of Shabbos. He has to fall out of Shabbos. He has to fall out of being a tzaddik into the hard world. He gets smashed to pieces. He learns to play the game with integrity, but to be savvy. And then he comes back to Eretz Yisrael.
But that's Pinchas, right? Because Pinchas, everybody was a tzaddik back then. They had Ruach HaKodesh. Right. Zimri was supposed to be with that woman,
right.
But he lowered himself. He came to the level of a tzaddik, saw it as all Shem. Right. Everybody's a tzaddik, but then he lowered himself and said, "I live in the physical world. I want to do physical mitzvah. I got to act like he's not a tzaddik. He's a Russia doing that."
Yeah, I've never thought about it that way, but it could be. It's very interesting.
But Jacob needed Joseph to go back to Israel. I learned.
Yeah.
Because Joseph was going to help him to manage the physical world.
Oh, so again, once he goes out there and he gets a zivug and he starts building that, right? So now he's going to get all the blessings and all the ability. He's got the skill set, the ability, the children, right? And then Yosef could use Yesod, and his Yesod can go into his line, which is the darkest place at all, and become a melech of that. So these are all made to us. Give me one moment. I just want to show this beautiful Torah. So now that he comes in, he meets Esau. And he plays the game, all the challenge, all the pain, all the struggle, all the drama. He's going to go to war. He's going to protect his family. He's ready to battle. And what happens? And what happens? He survives it. So it says, "V'Yaakov naseh Sukkah." So Esau says, "Hey, we're buddies now. We're friends now. Now come hang out with me. Let's be friends." So this is the vort, right? So Esau is called physicality. The Benmeleh calls it the first Torah. It's the Yetzer Hara, right? So Yaakov knows how to handle his Yetzer Hara. So he says, "I'm playing the game. Yeah, we're friends. Here's a kiss. Here's a hug. We're all friends now." And he says, "Come live with me, hang out." And Yaakov's smart enough, says, "Yeah, we're totally friends and buddies. We're going to hang out. You run ahead, and I'm going to catch up." That's what he says. And then it says something very interesting. Yaakov naseh Sukkah. Yaakov goes to Sukkah. V'yavan loy beis v'lemiknehu v'oisei Sukkos al kain kura shem hamakam Sukkos. Yaakov goes to this place called Sukkos, and he builds a sukkah for his sheep, and they call the place Sukkos. That's a very interesting thing. First it just said sukkah, sukkah, sukkah 3 times. It's pretty emphasizing the word sukkah, seems to be. So what's the kasha between, this is the point I want to end on, what's the kasha between confronting Esau and then going to build a sukkah? What's the ikar of a sukkah? The Sfirma Kadoshim say. The ikar of a sukkah, a porish sukkah shalom. Shabbos is called the sukkah. So the sukkah of shalom. There's a kasha between Shabbos and the kasha of sukkah, aleph. And what is a sukkah? The Baal Shem Tov says, what is a sukkah? He says it comes from Lashon soicha beruach hakodesh. It means to see. What does it mean to see? He says, the Baal Shem Tov says that the power of a sukkah is not kavim. The ikka of the sukkah, the main part of the sukkah is the schach. And according to halacha, the main part of the schach means, what's the ikka of the schach? The schach is a wall, it's a protection level, but there's holes in it, the light gets through. Okay? What's that?
Because too much light you can't receive.
Too much light we can't receive. So what's the light there? It's Hashem, it's Elokus, it's divinity, right? So it's a concealment of the physical world, but the light gets through.
It's a filter, right?
It's a filter system. It's a filter that the light still should penetrate. It pulls it back, but it's not opaque. The light still comes through. So it's very interesting. The Baal Shem Tov says about Shabbos. So what's it mean Ruach HaKodesh? Soicha b'Ruach HaKodesh. What's pshat with Ruach HaKodesh? It means this world's opaque. You come to me and say, I'm making this money, I've got this issue with my kids, I've got this challenge in my life. What should I do? You ask a set, what should you do? So most persons will say, I don't know what you should do. I can't see the future. I can't see what your soul is. You got this issue. I don't know. But it's sad. Ruach HaKodesh is you can see through reality. You can see through the walls. And you see spiritually what the root of the matter is. See, that's the power of a sukkah, right? The Gemara, amazing Gemara in Chaf Beis in Sukkah says that there's a halacha, at least a minhag, a halacha, is that you're supposed to be able to see the stars through the schach. Right? What does it mean to see the stars through the schach? It's a very deep word, so watch how this all comes together, and then we're done. What does it mean? What's trying to see the stars through the schach? So the Sfarim HaKadoshim say, the more Einaim of the Sfarim say, is that, what does it mean, a star? A star is a koichav. A koichav is something infinitely small. It's just a dot, and it looks like a dot. But if you went up to a star and saw it, it's a massive, unbelievable thing. In Kabbalah, a star is an unbelievable thing. A star is a body of an angel. That means an angel, an infinite being with infinite connection. And the stars, you just see this little thing. We know from Mazalis, we know from astrology, that all the Shefa, the Ramchal even says, all the Shefa, all the high world, all flows down to the stars. So by us, by our physical eyes, the star is a tiny little thing. But the Olam Remes, the world of truth, the star is an infinite light, an infinite energy that's connected there. So a star is, what's the oyster of the star? The koichav. Koichav means, chuf vav is 26, right? 26 is gematria, Hashem, right? The revelation of Hashem, the infinite light. And koichav, and then chuf base, which is 22. What's 22? The letters of the Aleph base. Right?
Mark, I'll see you later.
Exactly.
I'll see you later for lunch, okay?
Yes, Hashem. So here's the end of the Torah. That means the divine light, the infinite light, is hidden within every detail of the Aleph base. Every small dot, every small letter we read has infinite light. But the world was constructed through speech, through letters. Everything in the world is letters. And everything in the world is a physical small thing, but there's infinite light there. The idea of a sukkah is the chokhmah and the seichel shebechol davar. In every physical thing, we see infinite light, infinite connection. Soicha b'ruach HaKodesh means to have divine inspiration, to see spirituality in all things. Sukkah is a state of consciousness. A sukkah means to enter into a place where everything is Yashakel, where everything is revelation, where everything is Devekas, where everything is divinity, and to see that constantly. Esau is the Yetzer Hara. What does the Yetzer Hara say? This is just a physical thing. Desire that woman because it's just a body. Desire that money because it's just something you can make. Desire that house, it's just a building. So when you confront the illusion of the physical world, the Esau, and you go, that's just physicality, run to a sukkah. Run to the consciousness where you see the holiness in everything.
Beautiful.
Run to see the truth. That's the way we run away from the Yetzer Hara. Listen how we run away from the Yetzer Hara. We don't avoid it, but we see through it. When we see, so that's Soicha B'Ruach HaKodesh, we see the spirituality, we see the depth, we see the spark, you understand that? And then what do? We give that darkness a reason to exist. Then we cause reality to come. We see the Yeshus of Hashem, we see the revelation of Hashem, the good in that thing, the light in that thing, and therefore the Yetzer Hara itself no longer exists, Reish Pei Beis, and it takes on holiness. And therefore Yisrael is the power to see the good in all the things, to see the Chachma and the Seichel Shebechol Davar, and through that we give that thing, we make that thing a Beis HaMikdash, a house that itself reveals Hashem. We turn darkness itself into light. And that's Yesh Hashem b'Makam Hazeh, the Yesh of Hashem. Rather than Yetzer Hara that says there's no divinity here, we say yes, there is divinity here, yes, there is light through our perception, and we empower the world to exist as a place of revelation.
Excellent. Excellent. Beautiful.
Zach.